Welcome, sports fans. I'm Craig Cortello.
And I'm Kyle Cortello.
And we are the Italian Sports Guys. Bada boom.
Bada bing.
Leave the gun.
Take the cannolis you hate.
It's a weekly sports talk show with an Italian New Orleans twist, so grab a beer or a little red vino.
Some pizza pie or some pasta marinara you hear.
Throw on your favorite sports jersey.
And join us. Why don't you?
All right, Kyle, good to be back here at Studio 58.
Benvenuti, Craigie boy.
It's good to have one week in the books for the NFL season. We'll get to LSU and some of the college discussions and NFL, the big picture, but we'll start, of course, with our Saints. Kyle, I guess just to kind of sum up this game, early in the season it's a little bit difficult to know the quality of wins or losses because you don't know where all these teams are at. But you can kind of make a pretty good guesstimate on some. You know, I think the Bills and the Ravens are going to be good teams. They're going to probably play again in the postseason. I think the Dolphins are bad. I'm going to make those two picks.
Going on a limb?
You're going on a limb and say that. But there's a lot of murky middle kind of way. And I think, if you look at this game, the reason it's disappointing, as you pointed out, was that even though we didn't have high expectations of the Saints, this was a winnable game against, I think, an average football team, and the game was there to be taken.
No, I agree with that, Craig. There's some people who are saying the Cardinals are going to be a playoff team, a wild card team, whatever, and we'll see. I agree with you. I think they're a middle-of-the-road team, and there were moments that presented itself to at least to take the game and then, again, at least tie it at the end right there. We didn't get it done.
Yeah. What do you think about starting with our quarterback? Of course, he's first year starting out the year as a starter, but he had 5-6 starts last year. What were your impressions of Rattler?
He's always fun to watch. I'll tell you that. We went into this whole thing saying, look, we're not going to be very good this year. Yeah. My thing was, let me just be entertained.
Yeah.
Of course, I changed at 2:45 on Sunday. I'm screaming and yelling because I thought we had a chance to win the game. We did.
Right, yeah.
I thought he played well. The moment's not too big for him. You can tell his demeanor. So. He's not trying to be calm. He is calm.
Yeah.
I don't know how good he is, and that's a little bit of my concern. I think he's electric at times, can make any throw. I'd like to see some more consistency.
Yeah.
I think he did a lot of things well on Sunday, and he didn't turn the ball over, and that's what we really needed from him because last year he turned the ball over. The obvious is that he's 0-7, but I'll tell you, too many times I think on 3rd and 8 he threw a 3-yard pass. Now you can't force the ball, hence the no turnovers. I get it. And at the end, you want to have a chance to win at the end, and he did, and we did, and so I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah, I think we talked about it during the preseason. I think the first preseason game, he was a little bit tentative and threw a lot of checkdowns like he did. And I think the second game, he made a decision to be more aggressive. I think he kind of reverted back to that first preseason game where he played a lot of things safe. There, 27 to 46 for 214 yards is not a big average per throw. But you mentioned sometimes that's a trade-off between the turnovers. In the first game of the season, especially when your defense is playing well, you got to keep yourselves in it and make sure you have a chance to win.
Right, and he did that.
Yeah.
I thought there were some shots where he could have pulled the trigger a little early. But again, it goes back to how close, what is that window?
Yeah.
We don't know yet in this offense. We'll find out. I didn't think there was a ton of separation by our 3 super fast wide receivers. That was a little bit concerning.
Yeah, and that's always part of the problem, trying to decipher how good the quarterback's playing. You don't really see it from his angle, the separation, what he's looking at. I will say this, in any game like this, it's close. There's usually a couple different sequences that can decide a ball game. Saints, Coach Kellen Moore said that we had 4 10-play plus drives in the game, and we actually had 5 9-plus plays. We had 1 or 9 plays. First half, 10 plays, 75-yard TD, 10 plays, 37 yards field goal. So we ended up 10 points in the first half. Second half, 14 for 53 yards, a missed field goal, 9 for 54, a field goal, and then on downs, 13 plays, 40 yards. You can't have, three drives of 9-plus plays and only come away with
6 points.
3 points, yeah. The second half, 3 points, yeah.
Oh, so yeah. Well, again, we go back to what you and I have been saying. I think Juwan Howard had a pretty good game. But Juwan Howard seemed to do just enough to get his contract extended. That is a catch. The old saying, big-time players make big-time plays in big moments. And that was a catch he's got to hang on to. I know he got hit. I know the guy made a good play. But that's our guy, and our guy's got to hold on to that. And he didn't. So I think that part stunk. I think we allowed them to stay on the field in too many times, giving up third down conversions. Yeah. And I thought, and I a lot of the reporting out from the beat writers and whatnot about Kool-Aid McKinstry's outstanding kids. I'll be honest, this is my opinion. I thought he woefully underperformed last year. And for a rookie that played for Nick Saban, who coaches the secondary at Alabama, for a rookie to not mix it up and run support is beyond me. Because that's when you're earning your bones your first few years. Look, Deion Sanders wasn't a big tackler. But even as a rookie, he even stuck his nose in there. Yeah. He didn't do it last year. And now he's a starter this year. And I said, you're going to see him. He's terrible again in run support. And the crime against all of it for me was that out of the Trey Benson on the sidelines, he got a chance to lay him out or at least put him on the ground, and he half pushed him, and the guy ran for another 15 yards.
Yeah.
And that, to me, was one of the differences in the game. He got beat by Marvin Harrison on the pass over the top. On the touchdown pass, they're saying, well, he got picked. No, you don't call a pick because there's no contact because he went around it.
Yeah.
When the guy comes and picks you, lay him out. You get the call.
Right.
And so I thought I'm unimpressed so far with him, and I'm not trying to find the whipping boy,
the
whipping guy to beat on because we lost, but I'm just not impressed so far.
Yeah, some of those things you hope are correctable. I mean, with the pass they completed that was down the field, he was stride for stride, just never picked up the football. There was another play,
part of it.
Right, another play where he got called for, I think, a hold. The guy was going to catch it anyway, so you start tugging. Don't make him make a tough catch as he's diving to the ground. But you mentioned the Saints defense played pretty well overall, 276 yards given up. But you mentioned the situational football was not great. I mean, they had a 3rd and 9 with the DPI they gave up. They had a 3rd and 2 on the touchdown drive from the 6, and they let him pick it up and get a first down, get a touchdown. This guy McBride, I mean, the first half, just key catch after key. I kept thinking back to the Super Bowl. It's like, don't let 44 beat us.
Dallas Clark. Where Scott Stanley covered the guy when you need him.
Right. I mean, so I was so frustrated. Somebody put a body on 85, but there was a key sequence before the half. I think was really pivotal in the game.
Yeah.
They got the ball 2nd and 23, 2:49 left. You can't let them convert there. They get 11 yards on the first play. They get a 3rd and 12. We give up a 20-yard pass to McBride over the middle, 10 yards, and runs another 10 yards. So then you got so number one, you give up, you let the out of the bag with 2nd and 23. They end up scoring a touchdown, but also they got Cardinals got down there inside the 15-yard line. We had 3 timeouts left. 2 minutes, we let it run down to 1, and you had a chance to maybe call a timeout there, get the ball back. I wasn't sure what the thought process was there.
I think he was happy to still be in it, and more than anything, I think he's protecting his quarterback from turning the ball over.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying what I think he's thinking.
Right.
Again, we go back to Sean Payton all the time, but made a living out of sneaking in a field goal before the end of the half and getting the ball back in the start of the second half.
Yeah.
And this was like, couldn't wait to get in with the lead with the score the way it was.
Yeah, one game.
And I thought that was a mistake. And look, he'll learn from it.
Yeah.
But also, you got to understand that this guy knows he's got the pulse on this team.
Yeah.
And I just don't think he's got a ton of confidence in a 2-minute offense, and maybe didn't want to put it out there with the risk of possibly turning it over. End of the game, different story. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So I think he was just playing a little too cautious right there, and that falls at his feet. He'll learn from it. But that was disappointing to see.
Yeah, I thought the broadcaster mentioned that. He said, maybe if they score, you call a timeout with 2 minutes left. Then you go 3 and out, they get it back again. Now you may be down 2 scores.
Right.
I get it. To me, that's still a defeatist attitude, though.
Absolutely,
100%. And you look at Rattler; he seemed to play pretty well in those 2-minute offense.
That's when he does his best.
He gets a little bit looser and not so tight.
Unscripted plays.
Plays. So I thought that was a mistake, and that put us down 7 points before the half. And again, the second half was each team traded a field goal. We didn't really have a lot of scoring in the second half.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, man. Well, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
So we held them to under 300 yards.
Yeah.
We didn't turn the ball over. We had 21 first downs. We gave up 1 sack, and our defense had 5.
Right.
Those are all good things. Those are things you can kind of hang your hat on. But if you cannot get off the field on 3rd down, and the same plays over and over keep beating you, tight end drag right across the middle, tight end drag right across the middle.
Yeah.
And look, thank goodness George Kittle's hurt because he's better than this tight end. McBride's good, but George Kittle's one of the best in the league. So
yeah, the other bugaboo, I guess, was really the penalties. 13 for 89 yards. You can't have that. And we had a lot. The thing that's concerning me about the Saints right now is we're thin at offensive line,
right?
And some of those penalties were new guys stepping into those roles. I think the guy from Dallas that we just picked up a week ago gets a false start. He hadn't had a lot of reps, as they mentioned. So that's continuity to some extent. Also, of course, the DPIs and the grabbing.
And I thought I bashed on McKinstry pretty good. And again, he's got a ways to go to prove himself in my eyes.
Yeah.
But I thought he was the pass, the DPI call on their first scoring drive was a crime. There was not pass interference. That was a terrible call. So I'll say that he got jobbed on that. But yeah, way too many penalties, and that makes for ugly football. I thought the refs were a little flag happy on both sides, and shocker, right? But they feel like they have to be a part of the game. But you can't have 13 penalties in this league and win.
Yeah, I thought in the running game we were adequate. I mean, we did enough to keep them honest. We lost the time of possession, and that goes back to the 3rd down conversions. Yeah. Any other thoughts on the game last week?
Yeah, I told you some of the good things that we did, but I thought for Kamara, who's probably our best offensive weapon, only have 13 touches, and he was productive when you had it. You got to find a way to get him the ball more. We talked about all the penalties. We gave up 146 yards on the ground, and 5.6 yards a carry rushing, and they converted 6 of 13 on third down. You can't have that. I'm not going to say it again, but I'm going to say it again. I think that if McKinstry's going to get beat a few times and not good in run support, what are we doing? Come on. So, anyway.
All right, let's look at the rest of the NFL. One of the big highlights of this weekend were the crazy games we had on Sunday and Monday nights, and both kind of a mirror images where it just felt almost inevitable the entire game because the lead seemed like, it seemed insurmountable. Crazy game with the Ravens. Somebody said Derrick Henry probably had the best and worst game of his career on Sunday night.
Because he looked unstoppable.
Yeah, unstoppable. And, 15 points down with 4 minutes to go. I think, the history of the last 40 years, you see the stat. It's, the odds on that are 1 out of, 200 or 2,000, whatever the number was. It's crazy. It just doesn't happen.
I think if you have a quarterback with Lamar Jackson's skill set, he's one of the best in the league. You can't get conservative in a situation like that when the guy on the other team is Josh Allen.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, and Harbaugh knows that. He talked about it after, John Harbaugh. But I don't understand how you can get conservative when everything you're doing is kind of sort of working. And the fumble killed him.
And when you're in a 41-40 kind of ballgame.
Right, and then we've seen this 1,000 times from like 4 guys who are just money in that situation. Mahomes, Lamar Jackson's got his share of comebacks. Josh Allen is up there with anybody right now. Right, sure. So I thought that cost him.
Again, as I say, they're 2 really good football teams. Playing.
They'll play again.
They'll play into January, of course. Vikings Bears, again, a strange game. Bears came out. I think Caleb Williams was 10 for 10 starting off the game.
Looked unstoppable.
Unstoppable, yeah. But they got They hit a lull after the early score. They got the pick 6. It reminded me a lot of those old Saints games with the Dome Patrol. You're winning, you're beating San Francisco 17-6. It feels dominant because your defense is shutting them down.
Right.
But you look at the scoreboard, you're only up, 11, 13 points, and Montana hits a touchdown. You look at the scoreboard,
Here comes Ray working in his mustache. His porn stash, and you know what's happening,
That was kind of the deal. But I think McCarthy, credit to him, he got beat up for 2.5, 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters, really. And stuck in there. He kept a positive attitude and made some plays late. I think Caleb Williams looks to me like he's still got a lot to learn.
Caleb Williams is so talented.
Yeah,
I mean,
physically,
he can. His arm talent is special.
Yeah, sure.
I just think that he's easy to fool. And I thought Brian Flores figured out somewhere during that game how to confuse him, and boy, he did not look comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a thing, and some of that goes back to how much time you're willing to put in the classroom. They had hints with some of the press conferences with Ben Johnson raving about Tyson Bagent, the backup quarterback, about how good he was. This is during training camp.
Yeah.
How much he studies, how hard he works, how dedicated to his craft he is. That is a coach talking to you through the media.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And for him to go on and on about that, I thought says a lot about what they expect and maybe what they're not getting at this time from Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and I'll watch, Greg Cosell was on with Colin Cowherd and broke down. He does watch a lot of film and does a lot of study on quarterbacks. And
it's fantastic.
He's great. He said the things he looked at his notes when he looked through Caleb Williams' performance. He said, number one, at this point in his career, he's not good at making the anticipatory throws, which that's one of the toughest transitions from college to pros, right? I mean, guys aren't open, so you have to throw them open or anticipate where they might have a shot to catch the ball. That's a little difficult. He also said he has trouble having clarity in the pocket to be able to go through his progressions in the structure of the offense. He bails out too quickly on those.
A little too much freestyle.
Right. He also climbs up the pocket when it's not needed and creates his own pressure. I mean, that's the other thing, having steady feet when you guys are around you, but they're not into your chest, right. So there's some things that he's got to get better. And that'll come with time, you think, if he's got that kind of talent.
You would hope suddenly it all clicks.
Yeah.
But some of it is feel.
Yeah,
and some of it, some guys have it and some guys don't.
Yeah.
That pocket's an inexact science. It really is.
Yeah.
It's not okay, this is it. It moved. But like to your point, you start crawling up when you don't have to. All you're doing is getting closer to the pressure.
Yeah. So his bottom line was it ends up the bottom line is there are throws to be made that he's not making that are there to be made. Looking elsewhere, Kyle, just across the NFL, give me your surprises both on the good and the bad side, what you saw.
I'll tell you, my good was the Packers, who were dominant in the win over the Lions, man. They really were. I mean, Detroit's coming off a banner season where they won, I think, 15 games or something crazy.
Yeah, 15-2 last year.
15-2. And Green Bay handed it to them.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought Buffalo. We talked about that win. Buffalo was amazing.
Yeah.
I tell you what else. The Cowboys really showed me something. They lost to Philly.
Right.
From what I thought, C.D. Lamb, and he owned it. If he doesn't not hold on to some passes, I won't call them complete. One was a complete drop.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't not hold on to some passes, they might win that game.
Yeah,
Against the defending Super Bowl champs.
Yeah.
To me, that was a big. If you're a Cowboys fan, because I'm telling you right now, I've written them off.
Yeah, I did too.
Before that, and I said, you know what? They got something to work with here.
Yeah, credit the coach too. I mean, they looked like they were ready to play. Yeah, came out there and maybe Eagles still a little bit sluggish coming off of that Super Bowl hangover.
You got the hangover. You got the hangover. You were familiar with those.
Yeah,
Too much vino, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I thought the bad. I thought Chicago. The way that they played in the second half was pretty abysmal. It's almost like, here we go again.
Yeah.
I mean, and the Ravens too. We talked about that. We beat it down, but you can't take your foot off the gas.
Yeah.
When I get running the clock out, we all do. But when the guy on the other side of the field is that guy,
that dynamic,
you got to do everything you can to keep the ball out of his hands.
Yeah. I would say on the good side, I thought the Chargers, nice win on out in Brazil. I guess they played in. Justin Herbert looks solid. They just like a really buttoned up team. I think. The Chiefs still have some concerns on that roster. I mean, one of the things that was amazing to me was the fact that they ended up with, I think, 15-2 last year. I thought Mahomes just kind of willed that team to that record. I don't think
11 score wins.
Yeah, right. I mean, I just don't think they had any business being 15-2, and it showed when they got to against Philly in the championship. Justin Herbert was solid. 25 of 34, 3 touchdowns without a pick, and 318. And let's give credit where it's due. Aaron Rodgers. I mean, a lot of people wrote him off. He started to look old after that injury coming back from it. I don't know how good the Jets are. That's another question we'll answer later in the season. But 22 of 30, 244 yards, 4 touchdowns without a pick. The only quarterback in the last 60 years, 240 plus, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and so that's pretty impressive.
I thought, and look, there's a little extra spice in this step. I think he wanted to stick it to him.
Yeah.
And the Jets, the way the Jets released him by calling him, flying him in from across the country to tell him, you could have done that over the phone. Right. So, what about the ugly? You got any uglies?
Yeah,
you did the good and the bad. What about the uglies?
Yeah, I would say on the uglies, one more good was the San Francisco gutsy win for them on the road. Yeah, Brock Purdy had some tough moments, but made a big play late in the game. Could have been an interception.
Yeah, that tight end
kind of bailed them out. Yeah. On the bad side, I mentioned Miami. There's been rumblings that this guy's he's a little bit of a quirky coach, Mike McDaniel, good offensive coordinator, but a lot of mumbling that he's starting to lose the locker room. He's a little quirky, and when you see discontented guys like a Tyreek Hill who can be vocal, it feels like it's all starting to fall apart, and it certainly looked that way. When you give up Daniel Jones, as far as they know,
Indiana Jones,
Daniel Jones. As far as we know, the history of the NFL, they couldn't find a quarterback that went 7 consecutive scoring drives, all 7 scoring drives in the game. You look that bad to a quarterback who's that mediocre.
Yeah, I know. Great point. Look, one of the knocks on Miami, and even some of their own players talked about it. We're not tough enough.
Yeah, right.
We're not physical enough.
It's one of those finesse teams again. Yeah,
and they're going through this all through training camp. And I'll tell you something else. When you're trying to set the tone in a sport that is still based on physicality, showing up to practice in a latte with capri pants on doesn't exactly scream I'm here to fight.
Yeah, right.
I'll just say that. I like McDaniel a lot. I wish he was. I would not mind him as my offensive coordinator. I don't know if the leader I'm in thing is something that, and again, quirky, weird. They have to get you. They have to understand. They have to trust you.
Everybody's different, but you got to
You got to be yourself. But if yourself, that falls on whoever hired him.
Yeah.
And Carolina Panthers to me was the other ugly. Coming off some end of the year momentum last season, going against a Jacksonville team who's got a brand new head coach and a new administration there. 255 yards of total offense and 10 points. You got to be better than that against a team that's not that good.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a word of caution. They were all jumping for joy late in the season. Teams get a few wins. Other teams are throwing.
One of them was against us for crying out loud.
Yeah, so when they were all saying, we found our quarterback now, the future, and our team's on the right. It's a little too soon to jump the gun there. I thought going maybe 3-2 or whatever, 4-1, whatever it was down the stretch last year.
We're not completely abysmal and awful. Right. So let's start stacking those. Who wants to put a deposit on playoff tickets? That's a big jump.
Yeah, right. Sorry. So the Lions. We said, I mentioned the Lions. Another team I thought was ugly, and again they pulled out a win. Thank goodness for them. Cincinnati. I mentioned Sunday on our text thread. Zach Taylor's 1-9 in his opening 2 games in 5 years. That's pretty good. They had to get off to a good start. They win the game. They pull out a tough win on the road against a good defensive team in Cleveland, but they had 7 yards of offense in the second half. seven yards of offense in the entire second half. They were out first down 11 to 22. They only had 141 total yards for the game. Their running game, once again, is non-existent. They can't, they tend to be one-dimensional, and it looks like Joe Burrow's going to get beat up again. But it was pretty ugly. 11-minute or so time of possession. They came up with two big interceptions in that game that looked like mirror images. Flacco threw a low ball to the wide receiver who went down to try to kind of get it low and scooped it up to the defender.
The DB guy, yeah.
And then later in the game, it happened when he clinched the game. I think it happened again. They also missed a chip shot, 36-yard field goal. 2 minutes or so left. They could have beat Cincinnati. So kudos to Cincinnati for getting a win, but they've got to turn it on from here.
It was to the point where they were, like a lot of teams, they rested their starters in preseason.
Right.
And they're like you said, 1-9 in 5 years in the first two games. Their starts of the seasons were so consistently bad that the players went to Zach Taylor.
Yeah.
And they said, you need to play us more in preseason. And they did.
Yeah.
And hey, paid off. They beat Cleveland by one.
Yeah, right. All right, let's jump over to the college ranks. LSU, of course, we didn't do the show last week, but they had an impressive road win against Clemson.
Tough, gutsy win.
Gutsy win. We had, some of the big matchups with, ranked teams playing each other in that opening weekend. Second weekend was a little bit more of the powder puffs teams. Teams took a break from those. But, of course, they come back with a kind of a mediocre win, maybe a letdown win against Tech last week. What are your thoughts on LSU so far?
Well, I thought the win against Clemson was really big for them.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly 0-3 in his season opening games. They keep opening with these ranked teams, either neutral site or on the road. They haven't played one at home. Yeah. And so to come out of that with the win, any way you would have sliced it when you're number 9 playing number 4 at number 4 in Death Valley Junior, I had to go there. And to come out with the win any way, shape, or form, hey man, that's a bonus. My chest is out, my chin is up. I thought coming back, and there's some things they could have done better, could have run the ball a little better, whatever. I'm not going to pick it apart. It was a win. And then they come back against a Louisiana Tech team. Now, Tech was 3-9 last year. But over time, Tech has been a thorn in a lot of people's sides.
Right, true.
And they have a very, very good defense this year. It's actually led by Colby Fields, who played right here in the Catholic League at Archbishop Rummel, and then played at Memphis, was at LSU for a year, and then transferred to La Tech. He's going to get drafted, and I'm maybe a day 2 pick.
Yeah, right.
He's good.
Yeah.
And so, but Tech has a salty defense. They shut out, it was Southeastern, but they shut out the first team they played.
Yeah.
And once LSU got some things going, Tech made some adjustments and shut them down. I'll tell you this, to LSU's has to own this though. The first series of the game, they ran play action, and Barry and Brown was down the sidelines by himself, and Nuss corks back, and I said, this is going to be 6. And he ended up threw him by about 8 yards to the point where they come back to the ball. It popped between he and the defender as an interception. Yeah. I don't know if Nuss misjudged, if his arm had a little arm problem, his arm was a little tender from throwing it a bunch against Clemson, or if his arm strength is vastly overrated. I don't think it is. I think he can make any throw he has to. Yeah. But that to me said they're off, and they were off the entire game. The offense was. The defense played their asses off. They had a blown assignment for Tech's lone score late in the game with the reserves in, or with the backup secondary guy in. But by and large, LSU's defense was fantastic. Yeah. But offensively, they better establish a running game, or they're going to be in for a surprisingly, I don't call it disappointing, but I think they're going to leave themselves open to more losses than they should if they can't figure out how to run a damn football. Yeah,
it was a good quality win against Clemson, as you mentioned, first week. And I think that every year they've lost the opening games with Brian Kelly. We've told ourselves, well, it's still out there to make yourself feel good, right? Everything we wanted was still out there to play for, but it feels like a big mountain to climb.
Sure.
When you're jumping into the SEC's schedule 0-1. So, you come out of this 1-0 against a good win against a quality Clemson team, we think.
Right.
You look at Alabama getting beat by 2 touchdowns by FSU, so maybe your schedule doesn't seem as daunting as it did.
Right.
And as good a schedule, as good a win as you had in opening week. So that's a good feeling to get that win one way or another. We can ease our way into the season, get better, and take care of some of those things.
Yeah, you have a little more confidence. Go, look, they got a big one against a pissed-off Florida team that was upset by South Florida.
Yeah, right.
And Florida got themselves right. Napier was on the hottest of hot seats last season.
Yeah.
And they got themselves right with the win over LSU. Then they went on and beat 2 more ranked. Beat Texas. I think they beat Texas A&M and maybe even Georgia, Ole Miss, whatever. They went on a run. Yeah. And it was fueled by their win over LSU. It's the same scenario this year. Difference is you're playing in Baton Rouge and not Gainesville. But you're going to get a pissed off Florida team who has a very good defense and a good defensive front. If LSU can't run the ball, they're going to be in trouble because Florida's quarterback, DJ Langway, is a stud.
Yeah.
And he's coming out party. Again, last year was this game against LSU. So we'll see. But I like the Tigers. I think they'll win. I'm going to call it, I was saying 17-13. Our old SEC West analyst, Johnny Bird Stevenson's calling it 21-17. So we'll see.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm going to go LSU. I'll do 20-10. I'm going to go that.
I hope you're right. Yeah. Less sweat at the end of the game.
There you go. Any other thoughts on this NCAA, the bigger picture? I think, as we mentioned, Alabama, disappointing loss the first week. Miami, good, another marquee game, knocking off Notre Dame. And then last week, Oklahoma, Michigan, kind of a marquee game. Apparently, this kid from Oklahoma is getting some looks.
John Mateer is the real deal.
Yeah.
He's got the it factor.
Yeah.
And he can run and he can throw. And I've watched enough OU games over recent years. And you can tell when they know they have it or when they're just kidding themselves. They know they got something in this kid. He can play.
Yeah.
So.
And the Green Wave have a big one coming this week. They got their old quarterback that's coming.
Darian Mensah and the Duke Blue Devils come to town in a game that is going. It's going to be electric.
Yeah,
Yeoman. It really will be. Kudos to John Summerall.
Yeah, right.
I've said this. The dude can coach.
Yeah.
And he's like Willie Fritz. He wins.
Yeah, right.
And but they've had this one circled. And look, Mensah's not hated or anything like that within those walls.
Right, you can't.
And Summerall said, he played for me. I recruited him. I love the kid. I love him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But come Saturday, he's on the other sidelines. It's, the gloves are off. Sure. So if they can get a good game out of Ratzliff, their quarterback, they being Tulane, I think they'll win this one. I do.
Be a good win. Okay, circle back to the Saints, Kyle. We got, again, a kind of a dinged-up San Francisco team. You have to think without Kittle and without Purdy, this is a winnable game. So it kind of changes the complexion of this game.
It is now.
Yeah.
And so I'm not trying to. We don't want to put any pressure on the Saints that they don't already have.
I think the spread dropped to about 4.5 when it was over a touchdown starting off.
I think it started at 9.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm confused with the LSU game. I don't know.
Right.
But it's come soaring down with the injury. First of all, of Kittle and Purdy being questionable. Now Purdy's out. So, look, don't turn the ball over. Don't commit a bunch of stupid penalties and establish somewhat of a running game, and they can win that game.
Yeah.
And I think they will. Okay, but you can't just keep shooting yourself in the foot, and you can't miss tackles, and you can't not give an all-out effort. So, if they can, if Taliesin Fuagwa is going to be okay in play, I think that helps them a lot. I don't think they're getting Trevor Penny back still yet.
Yeah.
But they're going to have a chance to go steal one, and they need to.
Yeah, and like I say,
nice.
you mentioned, I hope we'll get some stability in the offensive line because I think that's where some of the penalties and it'll help the running game, which will help Rattler, of course, too.
Yeah, and feed Kamara the ball.
Yeah, right. Yeah, give him some touches. he did look. I mean, he didn't play out the whole preseason. We know he probably just going to be Alvin Kamara. He still looks sharp. He still looks, agile. He still looks elusive as he usually does.
Agile, hostile, and mobile, just like you when you play.
That's right. And also, I mentioned the backup kid. If he stays healthy, he looked really good again.
Kentrell Miller did look good.
He did look sharp.
Look good.
Running hard. All right, Kyle, anything else on the sports front this week?
I'm good. Who dat, man? Go Tigers.
Go Tigers, go Tigers.
Go Wave.
Go Saints, go Wave. And I want to mention once again our sponsors. We got Mid-City Pizza on Bank Street.
4400 Bank Street, best pizza in the world.
We got Luca Eats Uptown.
7329 Cone Street, breakfast and lunch 6 days a week. Closed on Mondays.
And we got Brian Check's Night at State Farm over there on
best insurance in the city.
That's right, over there on Metro on Causeway Boulevard.
State Farm.
All right, folks, we'll be back on top of that this week. We are
the Italian Sports Guy.
Bada boom.
Bada bing.